Hello, people of 2025.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to a brand new Slop Meal video. I hope you're enjoying your day, because I certainly am, and we've got a very interesting situation to cover today. It's one that I've extensively covered on several of my channels over the past year since the story broke, and that is the Wilbur Soot situation. Ladies and gentlemen, today Wilbur Soot has released an update video after being very inactive on the internet. I'm going to dive straight into this because it's 30 degrees in the UK, the humidity is insane, and I am sweating like a pig.
Hello, people of 2025. I hope you've all been well. This video is going to be a bit of a different one.
I've got to say, right, and I don't usually comment on something like this, but Wilbur Soot has changed drastically in the way he looks, the way he sounds, the way he's even acting, just how his speech is coming across. He just sounds like a completely different human.
For me, I've never been very good at update videos, but this channel's been inactive for so long, I thought one was probably well overdue. So I wanted to take this opportunity to quickly talk about what I've been up to the past couple of years, what you can expect from me going forward, and, of course, future YouTube content.
Now look, Wilbur, I'm going to be very real. Although it would be nice to hear what your content schedule is going to look like over the next coming years, I don't think the majority of people watching this video really care about that. People want to hear a brand new update from you about the allegations that you had against your name. Maybe even a brand new response, because your response, your initial one, was heavily panned.
I've been really quite busy these past few months, so I haven't really had that much to show you guys anyway. But as most of you probably already know, that isn't the only reason I've been so quiet.
No, and I'm going to make a really bold assumption. It's probably not the main reason you've been so quiet over the past year. Because, guys, I genuinely can't think of anything that possibly might have happened over the past year that would make Wilbur Soot not want to make any content or speak out at all and be very, very quiet.
If you don't mind, I'd like to take a quick minute to touch on that before I move into what the future holds. There's been a lot of different clashing labels and opinions about me on the internet over the past year, the loudest of which on both sides of the fence have been quite unhealthy.
How can you claim that the labels that have come against your name from allegations are unhealthy? If you are going to make a comeback video and you have a series of allegations leveled against you, you either tackle it head on and give an update, you actually try and address those allegations in a better, more mature manner and in a better response, or you just flat out ignore it and continue doing your own thing. This doesn't work. It's genuinely the first time I've ever heard somebody who's had a series of allegations leveled against them call the labels that had come from that unhealthy instead of, you know, maybe bad, a bit, maybe just a little bit negative.
Stemming from accusations made about me from just over a year ago. And look, I'm not here to drop any bombshells. I don't want to reopen any old discussions. I responded to the situation in February of last year, and I still stand by everything I said in that statement.
I mean, I would say your response was pretty questionable, but if you still hold yourself to that, then that is your prerogative at the end of the day. But you've got to realize, if you do make an update video, and you really have no interest talking about your allegations after having serious allegations, that people might want to comment about that and talk about maybe why you don't want to talk about that.
I understand it was misinterpreted by some people, probably due to my wording.
Okay, so if you know that your response in your words was misinterpreted by your wording, by your own fault, then surely you would want to do just a rendition of that response at the very least in this video and make sure your points are as clear as they could possibly be. Because surely you won't want people to get the wrong end of the stick, even if it had been a year later. Surely you'd want your official statement on the record to make sure people actually understood what you were trying to say in that response, if that's how you're phrasing this. I was in his position and I had put out a response to a very serious allegation and it got misinterpreted and misunderstood due to my own wording. Even if it was a year later when I did eventually return, I would 100% make a correction there or make sure my words were clear, so at least then, even if it is incredibly later, people understood what I was trying to say there. I would of course try and do that. I don't know why Wilbur Soot isn't doing that here. It's pretty funny, especially since all of the Wilbur Soot stuff is going to get drudged back up again and it's going to spread around the internet like wildfire. And like one user said in my replies to my post about this on the internet, they said it feels like he's done this perfectly for vid content. Loads of content creators can't cover this.
And I know some people are still looking for clarity, especially nowadays where personal transparency is more common amongst content creators than it's ever been before.
Personal transparency and sharing things with your audience is one thing, and if you don't want to do that, that is understandable, but then responding to a series of allegations leveled against you is a complete and different other ballpark. And if you genuinely think that maybe they're false or they're bending the truth a little bit or whatever, surely you'd actually want to launch an official response to try and clear your name in some capacity, or just to put out an official response regardless, where you might be sharing a few personal details to try and clear your name, unless you just don't care or you know that what they're saying is true.
However, this clarity, the clarity I've offered to my close friends and my family, would mean publicly sharing deeply personal parts of my private life and my relationships with the internet. I've never been comfortable doing that. And I don't believe that should be the cost of being understood.
I mean, what's incredibly confusing here is, yes, he doesn't want to share personal information, and he is completely uncomfortable with that. But on top of that, he doesn't even want to do just a quick rendition of his initial response to make sure people understood what he was trying to say there, because he, in his own words, understood that his wording led to misinterpretations in his initial response. Surely you would just want to correct the record on at least that. It just seems kind of weird that you just don't care whatsoever.
All I can say is that the labels that have been attributed to me by social media are not true, and I don't accept them.
Okay, so here Wilbur has said he doesn't accept them, and that they're not true, the labels that are being used against him. I'm assuming these labels, and we can only assume these labels, are things like an abuser. The thing is, we know that he's denying these claims, right? The labels that are being thrown around about him, but we don't have any evidence. We don't have any proof. He hasn't shared that. He's not willing to go into any details whatsoever. All we know is that he doesn't accept the labels that are being used against him. We have no idea. Even just elaborating a little bit more on his side of the story or showing a screenshot to prove that would go a long way. Just like if a victim came out, didn't share that side of the story, came out with no proof whatsoever, and just said that somebody did something, people would be apprehensive to believe them, just like people are going to be apprehensive to believe him here.
I don't believe in this expectation that content creators should use their platforms to attack and defend, and I definitely don't think that's how serious accusations should be
I
handled.
don't believe in this expectation that content creators should use their platform to attack and defend. Surely you, as somebody who's had an allegation, would maybe want to defend, maybe use your platform to defend yourself if you are put in this position. And also, I mean, this is pretty vague how he's talking here. He's talking in rhymes and riddles here. He's being incredibly vague, probably on purpose here. But if people do get an allegation leveled against them, normal people would want to defend themselves so they don't get defamed. That's just a normal thing. And vice versa, people are going to attack and critique others because that's just a natural thing to do. People are going to critique and talk about other people. That's just how it is.
I definitely don't think that's how serious accusations should be handled.
When it comes to serious claims and accusations you have against somebody, you shouldn't immediately run to Twitter or hop on a live stream. What you should do is go to the police or the correct authorities to try and make a report, try and actually get something done legally, and then if that doesn't happen, if that doesn't go anywhere, that leads to nowhere, it's a dead end, then of course, yeah, most people are going to want to put their accusations out there publicly online so it's at least known.
I felt this way for a really long time now, having seen other content creators go through similar situations, and I know it's not a perspective that's going to satisfy everyone, but it's one I can get behind.
My main point of contention here is how he's bringing up his said allegations, how after a year this is what he's got to say, and his actual standpoint on this I do find peculiar. Of course, in the past I have said quite a bit about Shelby, and yeah, I've got criticisms on both sides, but this is just bizarre to me. Again, I'm going to come back to this point, but if you genuinely think that people have misinterpreted your initial response, and that was something you were comfortable with coming out with, and you don't want to come out with any more, I would just think that you would want to make sure that is clarified within this video, that your initial response you are comfortable with being out is clarified within this video so people genuinely understand what you were trying to say to try and clear up any of those quote-unquote misinterpretations.
And I hope that makes sense to you. None of this is me trying to dig up or dwell on the past here. I would just feel very strange if I carried on without at least acknowledging the past year.
I mean, is it really a proper acknowledgement? You're kind of just saying, yeah, that happened, and now you're about to talk about your schedule? Like, I don't know. The rest of the video is just him going over his schedule, things he's got planned, brand new content, his community, his music, that type of stuff, which I'm going to be honest, no offense to him, I don't really give a fuck about. I want to say as well, he's standing awfully far back from the camera, and I just reckon that's because he doesn't want us to see his vampire teeth that he's recently sharpened, so he can go out and nibble on people's legs. Honestly, that was it for Wilbur's update. I'm still trying to get over this part of the video.
I don't believe in this expectation that content creators should use their platforms to attack and defend, and I definitely don't think that's how serious accusations should be handled.
My biggest thing here still is, look, if he doesn't want to say anything personal, if he doesn't want to come up with another response, any other clarifications, or whatever, I would think that he would still want to make sure those misinterpretations that people had with his initial response were clarified, were cleared up, even if he doesn't want to come out with anything more personal, because he doesn't want to sacrifice that in regards to a response. Because ultimately, I would have liked to see in an official statement or an official response in some capacity to these claims, yet again, clearing up those misconceptions and misinterpretations with his initial response, and that's just something that I thought that maybe somebody who had been accused might be willing and wanting to do, but clearly that is not the case here. But everybody watching, what's your thoughts on Wilbur Soot's update here? Please feel free to comment down below, and once you're done there, you might as well subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss a future video. But I've been your host Samuel, and I will catch you in the next YouTube video. Goodbye.